course, we're in the Grandstand with W Series latest participant, Bruna Tomaselli. How are you today?
Hello, it's very nice to be joining with you today with Grandstand and talk a little bit about my career and W Series this year.
Yeah, great. Well, obviously, the first thing we need to know about you, you're new to the W Series grid. So, first up, what is it that got you interested in racing all those years ago?
I always loved cars and race since I was a kid. And when I was 7, my dad gave me my first go-kart. That's when I started racing. I started with races close to my city, small race, in go-kart, and I used to practice every weekend. We went to the track with my whole family and everything, and then I started to race in big races, like Brazilian Championships, some international races, and then I race in all the categories in go-karts. Today I still practice in go-kart, in shifter kart, to help me with my preparation.
Is your family got history in go-karts?
No, not anyone. And I live in a small city. It's close to Argentina, where I live, and there are no history here, close to here. There are some car drivers in a city close to here, but I think I'm the only one here.
Amazing.
And then when I was 15, I moved to open wheels. I started to race in Formula car. I did 2 years in Formula Junior, and it was a simple car for who was starting in Formula, to learn and to improve with everything, to learn everything, to learn about the car, and it helped me a lot. And then I raced 2 years in Formula 4, and then I moved to United States in the US F2000. I did three seasons there, 3 years. It was very good because all the races were with Formula Indy, in the same track, same circuit. We had some activities out track, like the IndyCar drivers, so it helped us a lot to learn everything, not just track activities, but out tracks activity as well. And then I was qualified to race in W Series, and today I'm a W Series driver.
Yeah, it's very exciting as well. So you've got that US connection, and a lot of the W Series drivers have their roots in Europe, and Formula One is, of course, the target for European drivers, but you've been racing in the road to Indy. So what's your target? Do you want to go Formula One? Would you want to go Indy, or just as long as you are racing, you will be happy?
I think the most of drivers want to be a F1 driver. Since I was a kid, that was my dream as well. But of course, I know all the figures to be a F1 driver, You need to have much more than just be a great driver. But I started to race in the United States because of financial conditions, I could pay for a complete season in the United States, and it was not possible in Europe. And also because the Road to Indy is a good program, you know. It's not just about that I could pay, but it's a good program that give me a lot of opportunities as well.
Yeah.
And now moving to Europe, I think it's another great opportunity I have to race in W Series against all the other good drivers we have there. And I know all that circuits that are amazing. And of course, my goals now is to learn as much as I can in W Series. Give everything I can driving there, you know, show all my potential, and I try to keep my career in Europe or in America, but it will depend a lot about the sponsor I have after W Series. So it's not something that I can tell you now, you know. But my goal now is to work a lot, to learn a lot in W Series, to then keep racing at a high level.
It's amazing, of course, with W Series that sponsorship is not a requirement to enter, but of course the requirement to enter is going through those selection days where you are selected not just on your racing ability but mental ability. And you were unsuccessful for 2019, you were successful for 2020, then the pandemic happened and 2020 is wiped out. But you joined in the esports, in your sim racing, and you did pretty well, made a name for yourself. And now you're going into 2021. So what changed from your first selection day or your first time applying to this time? What do you think changed inside of you?
Yeah, I think the first selection was very good. There were a lot of good drivers there, but the W Series car wasn't ready yet, you know, on that days. In 2019, January, the cars weren't ready for a race. So we did the selection process in another kind of cars, in a track with a lot of snow. I have never seen snow in my whole life. And I think that was a little bit difficult for me to drive in the snow, you know. But it was very good. I was not successful in that selection, but I kept preparing. I kept racing in the United States in a high level, already thinking in the next selection process. Because since the beginning of W Series, my goal was to be a W Series driver. So I kept preparing me. And the selection process in Almeri was different. We were in the track with the W Series car, with an US F3 car. So it was much better for me because I'm racing an open wheel since my 15 years old. So I used to do it for a long time, you know. It's better to know the car, was faster, to know everything. And I think it helped me in the selection process, you know, but of course it was very competitive selection process. All the drivers that were there were very good, all the drivers. And I was successful in this one. And now I want to keep doing it in this season.
I'm sure you will as well. I'm very excited for it. So you mentioned that you did the single seaters for a long time. And of course, when you were 15, I think you mentioned it was one of the basic cars, no aerodynamics. And then you go to Formula 4, a little bit of aerodynamics. And then, of course, US F2000, which is essentially a proper single-seater powered car, a lot closer to the W Series. What does it feel like stepping up between each category? Do you notice a massive difference every year?
I think the most difference was when I moved up from go-karts to open wheel, because of course the kart is the base of our sport, but it's different the way you drive, the way you go to the power, the way you brake, it's everything different. So to learn all about this and to understand how the car works, it was a little bit the most different for me. But then when I was moving up the categories to Formula Junior, to Formula 4, then US F2000, then the F3 car from W Series, I think it was all a process that we had to learn and to keep improving with it, you know. Of course, it was a bigger car with more downforce, more horsepower, but then I already understand how it works, you know. I just had to know more about the car, to know everything,
Yeah.
to be faster, you know. But my plan since I start since in go-karts was not to jump a step, you know. It was always to a step by step, to not jumping for like a go-kart to F3 car, you know, always to do the whole process, to learn the most as I can in every category that I race, to be the most prepared for the next one. So I think all these cars I race in the past, and I think all of it helping me to be selected for the W Series.
We've seen with your US F2000 every season higher up in the championship. So is that an example of you learning every year, taking something that you learned last year to improve?
Yeah, the first season in US, I it wasn't complete. I only did
Five of eight.
race. Yeah, and the championship were 8 races. But the first year were to learn, you know, to learn everything. And then we changed the team. In my second season there, I raced for Pelfrey team. It was a good team, but in the last one, that was my best year racing US F2000. I raced in the pubs race in a great team. They are always battling for the championship, and it was a great year for me. I did a lot of top tens, and I fight for pole sitter and everything. I was always racing the front of the grid, even if I didn't get in podium, but I was always fast and competing in the front of the grid, you know, and it helped me a lot.
Yeah, and it certainly looked like you were improving and obviously getting better racecraft. So then we come to 2020, meant to be racing in the W Series. That doesn't happen, but you've been doing endurance racing. And how have you found that? That's quite a difference from single seaters doing it all, you know, by yourself to sharing the car. How has that been for you?
It was very good, a great way to prepare myself for this 2021 season. You know, the car was a little bit different, but the engine was close to an F3 engine. So it helped me a lot to learn more about everything. The car was a little bit bigger and heavy, but the grades were very good because it was 4 hours racing. It means a lot time in a race car, uh, helping me to prepare. And we got two wins, a lot of podiums. We end the championship in the second place. It was very good, and it was a very good way to prepare myself for this WSeries season.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it was a lot of fun, of course, being on track. And last
Yeah.
year you did have the W Series not on track and you did the esports racing. How did you find all the sim racing? Is it something you did before? Is it something you're continuing to do?
I used to practice in in simulator a lot, but only practice. I've never uh, raced in esports. I think that was the most difficult for me uh, in this championship, but I enjoyed it a lot. It was very good to be in contact with the whole W Series crew, with all the other drivers. We were almost every day practicing and talking about everything, the championship and everything. So it was very good to keep us in contact and racing. But of course, I'm looking forward for a real season in a real track.
Of course, and well, we mentioned you're racing in the US, and you've I think it's Sabre Cook that you've got a relationship friendship with, and Isla as well, who's joining this season. So, is there anybody else that you've got to bond with in particular during the esports?
No, only this both.
Okay. Well, of course, those guys. Well, Ida's coming in this year with you, which will be really nice to have somebody else going over from the US. She's mainly raced in the US, but we saw Holbrook last year. We saw Gilk struggling. Sabre Cook did improve over the season, but I think it really showed a bit of a difference from racing in America to racing in Europe. How is it that you're preparing for that this year? Are you doing more work on the simulator, or are you just going to learn when you get over?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of simulator to learn about the tracks because I don't know the tracks yet. I've never raced in any of the tracks, but I did some practice, some tests in a car with F3 car last year. This weekend I'm going to race in Interlagos, another endurance race, and I'm doing a lot of go-kart work to prepare my body and to feel good when I go to W Series car. And I'm still planning some tests until the season start, and we have a test in Valencia. So I think all of the things I'm doing is helping me to prepare.
So it's quite a difference in terms of a paddock with the W Series, I think. It seems from what I'm guessing you saw as well in 2019 that there was a lot of friendship in the paddock rather than rivalry. Obviously, you want to beat all the other drivers, but I'm guessing you go in there with Sabra, with Isla. Are you hoping to have it as a big friendly learning experience rather than a rivalry situation?
Yeah, I think, of course, I have a good relationship with these girls that I already met them. Like Ayla, we used to talk in every race in United States. I used to race against her in one race in my first season, but then she used to work for a suit company, and I used to talk with her in every IndyCar race. But I think not only with them, but the whole drivers, they are very nice people, the activities we already had last year and the selection process in Almeria was very good. Everybody was trying to help each other. Of course, when we were on the track, you should give everything, but out track we used to to be watching the other girls together and talking about it. And I know this is the same environment in the season, in the first season. I know it was like this, so I think will be very good this year, and we'll keep the same environment.
Yeah, it does certainly look to be exciting. We were speaking with another one of the drivers this year a little bit earlier, and they said they message other drivers. You continue talking about helmet designs and all this. It seems very, very friendly, so should be a really good learning experience. But back on the cars, then it's US F2000 car you've been racing recently. How does it compare for you to the Tatus F3 car?
The Tatus F3 from WSeries is of course bigger and faster than US F2000 car. They both are great cars to drive, but the WSeries F3 there are a lot more horsepower, a lot more downforce in the car. It's the chassis is the same, the same brand, Tatus, but it changed a little bit. The F3 car is a little bit more heavy than the US F2000, so all this difference change a little bit your feelings in the car, and the way you drive in the car. So I think that's the biggest change.
Is it something that you can have with terms of the setup? So speaking to myself, who I've never raced, and a lot of our viewers would never have raced. So it's a Tatus in both series. Is it similar setup wise? You have the same, obviously, ride height and all the other things you can change, but does that change a lot between the two when you go to speak to your engineers and request changes?
No, I think it don't change a lot, but I know in WSeries, at least in the selection process, we were not allowed to change what we want in the car, That's because it should be the same car with the same setup for all of the drivers. So in WSeries, we can't change what we want in the car.
Oh, that's going to be quite different when you have to go and race it. Obviously, you'll need to make some changes that you'd want. But big year for you, big year for WSeries. That you're going to be partnering Formula One, which is huge news. That's extremely exciting. How did you find out the news? Was it the same as us? Was it just you opened Twitter and it's, wow, we're doing Formula One, or did you have some advance notice?
Oh, it was great news for all of us. I'm super excited to do it. When they gave us the news, we are all screaming and everything. But it's very good. We drivers were waiting for at least a season to start, to race this year in real life, and then they say to us that we are going to race with F1. That was amazing. Yeah, I think is the dream of any category to be racing in the same event, the same weekend as F1, and in all the 8 races will be there with F1. I think it will be very good for us driver and also for the WSeries, I think it's a great opportunity for the whole team.
It's amazing, and the tracks they've selected for you guys are some of the better ones as well. It's a really good calendar. Are there any tracks you're most excited to go and race on?
I'm super excited for all the tracks. For Paul Ricard, I am, because it's the first race of the season. I'm super excited to race in Coda as well, because I raced in the simulator and the track looks amazing. But of course, for all the other tracks, Spa and all the other ones, I just want to race.
That final race as well in Mexico with
Yeah.
that big grandstand. If you were
Oh
making
yeah,
onto the
of course. I
podium,
think all the tracks are amazing.
yeah, it's a really really good calendar. When we looked at it, we looked at the Formula 2 calendar, and you've got a better calendar than Formula 2. We think Formula 3 is you're sharing a lot of weekends, but even they don't have all the same ones as you. So it's really really exciting. And you mentioned Sao Paulo, or you mentioned Interlagos specifically. Have you been to the Formula One race at Brazil?
No, I've never been in an F1 race here.
Oh wow!
I've been in Interlagos, of course, but not in F1 race.
So have you been to any F1 weekend before?
No.
Oh, this will be very exciting for you this
Oh
year.
yeah, yeah. Of
Yeah.
course.
So, well, we've got. I was just looking at the drivers we've got because there's no Brazilian drivers in Formula One at the moment. So we had Massa, of course, and now we've got Drugovich and Enzo Fittipaldi. How well do you know them? Are you going to be looking to spend time with them as you tour around the circuits?
Felipe Drugovich, I know him from the go-kart races.
A long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. And I know they are great drivers. Drugovich is in F2 now. Of course, I'm cheering for them, and maybe one day we can race against each other again.
Yeah, no, that would be great, and I'm sure you will at some point as well. So, are you are you be texting them, or are you looking to meet them when you are at the tracks? Depending, of course, on COVID. Is that something that you have got this Brazilian friendship
of course.
with?
Yeah. It's very important to be a Brazilian driver in a way to Formula One. You know, Drugovich is in F2 and everything, but of course it's very important to keep the contact with other drivers, and especially if they are Brazilians, you know.
Yeah, and obviously you've got such a good heritage Brazilian drivers, especially in Formula racing. So in W Series, you are the Brazilian, not only the Brazilian, but the only South American as well. Do you feel that's going to be big pressure for you, or are you actually happy to be representing the entire continent?
I'm happy to represent the country and South America. I don't feel like pressure. Of course, it is a little bit, but I want to show the best of me in the track, and I hope the whole country will support me and everything. So I think I'm proud to be there representing my country and South America.
I remember when I watched W Series with in 2019 that Shea Holbrook mentioned it was quite difficult flying back between the US and to Europe for every race. Do you have plans already for how you're handling that this year? Are you going to go to Europe and stay there for the first 4 races, or are you going to regularly fly back home?
Yeah, probably I will stay there for the first 4 races because it's almost every weekend.
Yeah, it's very busy.
Yeah, and probably during this period I'll be there. And then I think we have like 3 or 4 weeks without the race. So probably I'll come back to Brazil and then go back there to race after a month.
Yeah.
And stay there because it's a race after race. 2 weekends racing.
You've got Spa and then you've got Zandvoort, right?
Yeah.
Just back to back.
Yeah, and then we still have more than a month, I think, for United States and Mexico. So probably I'll go back home and then fly to United States and Mexico.
So away from racing, so Brazil, of course, has such a big history. It's football is, you're the biggest football team in the world, and you've got volleyball, surfing, and so on. Were you always going to do karting or driving, or did you have other sporting avenues that you wanted to pursue?
Yeah, karting I do since I was kid, but I love soccer, football. I think all the Brazilians love it, and I used to play it. So I think that's I love all these sports, but football I used to play almost every week in my city with my friends. So that's what I like. I like to play.
That's great. And of course, now it's W Series and motorsport, and you seem to be going from strength to strength and all that. But if somebody said to you, you're not allowed to race ever again, what would you do instead? What would your career choice be that's not racing?
I'm studying journalism as a plan B. So I think it should be a plan B if one day I stopped to race or if I wasn't a race driver. I love sports, so probably a journalist.
Sports journalism.
Yeah. Or maybe I could try to be a football player.
Well, yeah, that's another option. You've obviously got that sporting talent. And we saw Jamie Chadwick, she won the championship, and then that's led to a drive with Prema in Formula Regional last year and Extreme E this year. So if you were to win 2021, what sort of doors and opportunities would you ideally like to find?
Probably it still depends about sponsors, but my plans it's after W Series is to keep racing in a high level, or in Europe maybe move up to FIA F3 or something like this, or maybe in America like in the lights. So there are a lot of opportunities to do after W Series. But of course, now my plan is to do the best as I can, to learn with W Series, to be possible to keep racing in a high level.
Do you have a number, a championship position that's your target this year, or don't you do that?
Of course, I think everybody wants to win, but my goal is to keep selected for the next year.
Of
you
course.
know, like I don't know if it will change, but the 12 first girls kept selected. So I think that's my first goal in W Series, to keep select for the next championship. But of course, I'll try to fight for podiums, wins, and everything.
I don't think anybody could overlook you if you came into W Series and won the championship first time. So there'll be plenty of sponsor opportunities if you did. So fingers crossed that that's what you can do. But in any case, we've really enjoyed talking to you. And hopefully at some point, maybe later in the season, we can have the opportunity to speak again.
Yeah, of course.